You go to the more ...
Yeah,
and there's a list. You saw it? Okay.
Hopefully everyone sees that it is recording now. All right. All right, everyone. How are you doing?
Very good.
It's that time of the year, isn't it? Oh, and it's transcribing too. This technology is amazing. And I'm sure that people will be joining in. What I am planning to do is I'm going to share my screen and show the job form. I know we've had a couple of submissions and a few questions that have come in since we published that, and that's fine. We will try to go through everything and see if there are any additional conversations, but I also wanted to introduce everybody who's on the call from our office. So we have Candace Jameson, who you all know as one of our COC grants analysts. We also have Jenna Childress, who is our other COC grants analyst. She handles mostly the DV and CE mini grants that we give out to our CE leads. So that's what Jenna does. And then I also want to introduce she is on the call right now, but Rachel Sample is our new grants manager. Rachel, do you want to say anything?
Yes, sorry, I am off camera because I am technically off today with a wedding. But yes, my name's Rachel Sample. I'm looking forward to getting to know everybody and just excited about training and learning about all the wonderful things you guys do.
Those little things are good.
Yes. And then I also want to introduce Howard Birchman, who is our consultant guru on all things NOFO. So Howard, I don't know if you want to say anything.
Just good morning. I think I've got to meet most of you folks through the years. Pleasure to be with you again this year and standing by to see if we can help answer any questions.
Yeah. And then finally, I'll introduce Liz Green if you haven't already met her, but she is our new COC liaison, network liaison. So she is working with the network in general with board, committees, regional chairs, CE leads, everything that is kind of the COC network. Liz, do you want to say anything?
Yes, thank you so much. I just wanted to quickly add that I send out a monthly newsletter via email. And if you have not been receiving that, I sent out an April and May issue, and I am getting ready to send out the June one next week. So if you haven't been receiving those, please drop your email address in the chat today so we can make sure that you get them in the future. They have all kinds of important reminders about training opportunities, deadlines. We also feature some of the great work going on across the state, and just, lots of important or interesting tidbits that you might find interesting. So thank you.
All right. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share my screen and walk through the application. If you did this last year, most of the questions, all of the questions are practically the same that we did last year. If you remember last year, we did a fillable PDF, and this year we converted it to a JOT form is the system that we use at IHCDA for now. We are also marching, hopefully, towards a more robust grants management system where we will be able to not only do the applications through that system, but also manage the subrecipient projects that we have and be able to be more efficient with all of the information that we gather from you. And so it is, I think it's a improvement over last year. I'm sure there are some things that there always are when new technology is unveiled. There are always some glitches, and we will address them as they come about. So let me share my screen. All right, can everyone see my screen now? Okay.
Yes.
So, so basically, the information that actually, I'm going to change it to preview. So basic information is on the first page, fairly self-explanatory. The one thing that we want to make sure that you are aware of is that you will be submitting, instead of your DUNS number, you will submit your UEI number. And if you do not have that number, you need to go to the sam.gov to get that. Then we also ask for your federal ID number, the EIN number. The PIN number that you'll be looking for is your HUD grant number. So it begins with an IN, and then the first 4 digits of that would be, so your PIN number, if I'm trying to make myself clear, is the IN and then 4 digits. And that's what you would insert in the PIN number. All right. You'll also indicate that you are either a direct HUD recipient or an IHCDA subrecipient. That will help us to determine who we're talking to and what needs to be done. You'll also indicate whether you have a PSH or a rapid rehousing, RRH, or a THRRH. We've included other. There aren't too many others, but there might be some others. I think there's one straight transitional housing project. So that's where you would enter that information if you have a different type of project. Any questions on this page? Okay. So moving to the next one, this is to determine whether you are eligible and answer some of the threshold questions that you have to answer. So these are all yes/no questions on eligibility, as well as the federal requirements. Federal requirements include things, making sure that you're following and respecting fair housing and equal opportunity, that you maintain a drug-free workplace. So again, either yes, no. Hopefully they will all be yes. I think. I don't think there are any no questions there, but those are the questions that you would ask, and then the thresholds. So the thresholds would be that you have no unresolved HUD or IHCDA findings. So the choices that you have are that you were either not monitored, that there were no findings or concerns in that monitoring, or that there were findings or concerns. And if you click on that, you will have an opportunity down here to answer, to give us a little more information. So if you do have a finding or a concern that came out on one of the monitorings, you will have the opportunity to say, we have a corrective action plan that we are working towards, and everything is good, and so forth like that. So that information will, you can put there. I know, and I don't know exactly where our program monitor is in her process, but I know that she is doing some monitoring. And so you might actually be in the process of monitoring. So what you could do, even if you are in the process and you click on there were no findings or concerns, if you could put down here that we are currently in monitoring right now. So that way we know that you don't have any results from those monitorings. Also, same thing, same question, the single audit findings, there were no findings or there were findings. And if you have any findings, please explain that at the bottom. You will also select the homeless participation on governing board. So hopefully it is a threshold that you will have to say yes. If for some reason there is a no answer, you will also need to explain that below in the box that is provided. And then the other threshold question is participation in HMIS. And again, everyone should be participating in HMIS. If for some reason you're not, select no and include that information about that in the box. And when we say HMIS, that is either a straight HMIS client track or DV client track. So if you're participating in DV client track, you would answer yes. And this might be for some of our DV clients that you may be participating or using a comparable database, which you are allowed to do. So again, if you click on no and your DV provider, you would just say that you have a comparable database. Any questions on this page? All right. So the next question is that coordinated entry, 2 questions about coordinated entry. I believe there was a question that came in earlier about this. And so what you will put in these two are the actual numbers. You won't put a score, but you'll put the actual numbers here for these questions. The other thing that was pointed out to us that we had left in the calendar year 2020, but I have changed that so it is asking for the 2021 information. And then the next section is the housing first questions. Answer those. In the instructional guide that I submitted with this, there is whether you get a point for answering yes or no in the section. If you refer to your instructional guide, you'll get the points, and then you would enter that number at the end. Typically, there are 15 questions. Typically, everyone is going to be at the 15, maybe 14, but what we're looking for is 15 there. All right, any questions on this page? All right, now the performance metrics, and I'm sure that we will have questions here because this is always the questions, the area that everybody has questions. You will be referring to the APR report for 2021. So you'll pull off the APR report from January 1st to December 31st. And then you will enter the information as it's required. The great thing, hopefully you will find that this is the great thing, that you don't have to figure out the math. I have set this up so that you will figure out the system will figure out the math. And so as you look at these questions, the instructions are here. You'll enter the totals of these things. So you'll look at question 6A and 6B, etc. And then when you come down here, this is where you're going to enter the information, where it's the calculation. And once you start putting in information here, it will figure out, I don't know if these are legitimate numbers, but I'm just kind of putting them in here. And what here is your total is 92.54. And what you'll do is just enter that number here, 92. You can put the 0.54 or you can round up, but the decimal point is the only other character that you can put in there. So you can't put a percentage sign there. But since I put in here that the response should be a number only, you can round up. So if it was 92.4, you can put 93. Oops, 93 here. All right. Same thing on this. You'll pull out the numbers or the questions from the APR and look at the information. And if you put in the numbers here, again, I'm making up numbers here, and we get infinity. So as you're putting in the numbers, you're going to get some weird things until you've put in all of the numbers here. So then what you'll enter here is the final calculation, which is 75. And then move on to the next question. Oh, and the difference is that this is for PSH, or if it's an RRH project, you'll put that information in this one instead of that number. All right. Any questions on that one? All right. And then the percentage of households that exit to homelessness are unknown. You'll put that information here. It will calculate it out for you. And then it'll give you the final total. And you'll put in the final total here. And then the question 4 is, what is the percentage of adult participants who maintain or increase their total income? Again, if you just follow along here, it will, and then plug in your numbers in the spreadsheet or table, it will calculate. You may have to slide it over so that you can actually see the number here. And then put the information that it's calculated in this column into this, this field, and then move on. And then the utilization rate. So you'll put in the number of persons, households served in January, April, July, and August. You'll put all those numbers in there. And then again, it will calculate the information and you'll give the total utilization rate here. And then I believe that this question 6 is one that we did change just to make it more understandable. I think we had that the enter the total dollars not spent, and I have changed that. So the instructions may be different, but the instructions may still say not spent. What you will put in here is the total dollars spent, and then the total dollars of your grant. So say you've spent $95,000 and it was $100,000, and then it will give you your total. So you had a utilization rate of 95%. And then finally, the last questions on this performance measures is compliance with the expenditure requirements. Just a quick thing that if you are a subrecipient of IHCDA, you will answer this question, the first part of that, with yes, hopefully, that you are submitting monthly claims by the 20th of each month for reimbursement. And then if you are a direct HUD recipient, you are submitting your ELOCS drawdowns no less than quarterly or 90 days. And then we also offer an opportunity that if there is anything that is impacting your responses for one reason or another, we do give you an opportunity to explain that. So, for example, if you are if your utilization rate is maybe lower than what is expected, but you have a brand new project, you can put that in this space. So say that you started a program and you really didn't get started until 6 months into the process, just to give us a little indication of what's happening with your organization. Does anybody have any questions? All right, I will move on. Then we have some bonus questions. We had these same bonus questions last year. We have tweaked them a little, but we want to know if you attended our Spring Development Day. Yes. And if you attended any other training referring related to Housing First or evidence-based practices that support housing stability, that does not have to be our training. It could be HUD, something that HUD provided, or maybe a webinar by NAEH. You know, whatever you've done, we want to know that you are seeking continuing education. And then you participate in at least one other HCDA or HUD offered training. And then you participate in an offered office hours or monthly meeting. We are starting to provide a lot of opportunities for interaction, whether that's the HMIS office hours, or Candace and Jenna have put out or have started a COC office hours. Even if you have other funding like ESG or ESG-CV and you are participating in those office hours, that is fine. You can indicate that there. And then we also have added a blank so that you can just give us the information of the types of training that you are attending. Other than Spring Development Day, don't worry about that. We know what was on the agenda for that. But we'd like to hear what some of the training opportunities that you're taking advantage of. And then compliance, these are just making sure that you're submitting your signed agreements in a timely manner, submitting the required documentation such as match letters, homelessness representation, board resolutions, etc. in a timely manner. You've submitted the closeout report by the deadline, and you adhere to the terms of your grant and incorporate plans and attachments in the most recently completed year. So, so just making sure that you're a good partner in all of this, so that we can either know what's going on or can help you with that. And then finally, there is collaboration. For in the previous year, did your agency participate in regional council meetings, participate in a regional committee, or participate in a balance of state committee, or an IHCDA working group? Again, especially now that we have Liz on our team, I'm sure there will continue to be opportunities for you to be involved in the COC network. And we want to encourage you to do that. And then, did your agency engage in COVID-related activities? We kept this on the same, this question same as we did last year. We also gave you an opportunity to provide any information here about what you did. And then what we have, just to let you know, this is nothing that you have to submit, but if you do not submit your internal competition on a timely basis, you'll get a 10-point deduction. And if there is any substantially deficient application, so you haven't filled out everything or you haven't provided the necessary documentation, there would also be a 10-point deduction. And then, did anybody have any questions about that page? All right. Then there's a list of attachments that you should include. We want you to submit your financial audit, especially this is especially for those HUD direct subrecipients, but IHCDA collects those financial audits. So if you've already submitted it to our internal auditor, you don't have to submit it. But just make sure that you have done that before you don't submit it. But the best thing to do, I think, is if you're unsure if it's been submitted yet, to go ahead and submit the financial audit. You will also submit the homeless representation form. We have included that in the instructional packet. So this is actually a document that we will need when we execute an agreement with you. So we're just getting a head start on this. You'll also submit the APR that you use to generate all of your answers. And then we also ask that you submit the most recent closeout report. Typically that is for FY 2020, I think. And then a screenshot of your active sam.gov registration, which includes the UEI, so that we can see that, and a screenshot of your organization's active Secretary of State registration. You can do one of two things when you submit your files. You can either click on this and submit them all in one package, or you can submit them. I believe that you can submit one at a time. So you can collect or choose several different documents and then upload those. And then we ask that you sign it as best you can. I know because this is a computer, but you can kind of write in here. And then you can put your name and title and the date of submission and then submit it. Before I hit the submit, I do want to point out that you can view this on your phone. So this is what I don't know if anybody would want to use your cell phone, but you have that ability to do it. And you can also use a tablet. So this would look different as you use different devices. Does anybody have any questions at this point? And I'm going to go at the very end because this was something that was brought up to us, and I have made another change. So when you submit, you'll get a thank you. Your submission has been received. And then if you have multiple projects and you need to submit another application, you can just hit complete again, and it should just open another blank application, and then you can fill it out again. All right, does anybody have any questions? You can either raise your hand or put it in the chat. So yes, and I see the one question was, if we had this funding under ICADV previously, do you want the closeout report? And Candace has answered that question, that yes, it would be for the previous year. All right, and I see a hand raised. Who is that? Jana?
Yes, I have a question. I'm sorry, I'm having computer issues. I ended up having to get a laptop out, so I missed that section to be able to ask it. But it was under the performance measures. Question number 4. We are a joint project, but the directions say if you're a rapid rehousing to use question 19A2. Sorry, now my clock is barking. But so in that question, it is only doing exit assessments, but the first column says total number of adults. So that has stayers as well. So if I plug in the total number of adults, it makes it look like we aren't doing anything. It's because it's only counting exit assessments. So should we do leavers instead of total number of adults for the first column? Is that making sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
So for example, for ours, if I do total number of adults, I know I gotta find it. Where is it? I have 30, but our program's new, so only if I go to 23 or 19A2, I've only had 4. And so it looks like we've only had 4 exit assessments.
Because you're new.
Right. So
Okay.
I can't, yeah. And so it looks, I mean, if I plug that in, it looks really, really bad. But if I just do levers, because question 19.2A is exit assessments, then it doesn't look like that.
Howard, because this has been the same question from years past. I'm wondering if it is because it's a new project that she's getting a weird answer.
Because the issue is the program is too new to pick up those annual assessments. Is that the issue?
Right.
Yes. I have 30 adults, but we've only had 4 assessments because we're new. And so if I
Gotcha.
plug in 30 and then just those 4, I mean, our number is like hardly anything.
Is this your first full year of operations?
Yes.
So aren't we supposed to be holding the folks in their first year harmless, as it were, since they haven't had the full year of operations here?
Well, I mean, we're into our second year now.
Okay.
But all these numbers are our first year, which we were brand new. I just wanted to clarify that.
Jonna, which organization are you with?
Alternatives Incorporated. So we're one of the DV joint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this might be an issue this year, especially because the DV projects were under ICADV and now they're under us. So technically they're not in their first year, but they are.
I mean, we started in December of 20. So when you pull 21 numbers, I mean, that's a new project.
Yeah. What I would suggest, that's something that if come down here and provide some description about what's going on so that we can take a look at that when we are reviewing your application. And that might be something that we have to have a discussion with the Funding and Resource Committee to make a determination about how we handle that situation.
Okay, so I should go ahead and put in total number of adults and not just the leavers.
Yes, and then you would put down here, say something like on question 4 and explain what's going on and give an explanation as to what's going on.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, anything else? Candace, have you answered? I see that you're answering some of, and Jenna is too, answering some of the questions in the meeting chat. Is there anything that I need to go over?
I want to address Jill's question. Her main question is positive exit stayers and total persons served. How would they capture if those who are deceased within the program? So Jill, I understand what you're saying is that it won't show as a positive exit and it might decrease the scoring based on the math, but I don't really know how to answer that question because I'm looking at it from the APR point of view, how it doesn't interfere with the performance. So, and that's how it is when I report those numbers. Though that number doesn't interfere with the total persons that you served compared to your beds and units. So I'm pretty sure it'd be the same way, but I don't know if Howard, if you have more of an input on that. No? Okay, I'm on the right track with that.
Yep.
Okay. So it won't interfere with anything, Jill, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Jill,
it just changes our scoring because they were still served and they don't count as a positive exit and they don't count as a stayer. So it drops the percentage down and changes the scoring because they
And
died.
how many clients would that be for?
2.
Okay.
It changes ours by 1, like it'll change it to 1 segment of getting points, which isn't a huge deal. But it could be for people sometimes. So I just wanted to clarify on it.
Yeah, like I said, normally that's not an issue when I'm reporting. But if I don't know if the actual form allows you to make a note on that. But if you can explain that, if that's showing to be a really big issue with your application, just attach a note to that or additional information if you like.
Okay.
And we can
And I
take
mean,
that
it won't
into an
change our
effect.
score that much overall. I mean, like it should not be a make or break on the score.
Okay. Okay, that's what I was worried about. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't to that extent. Okay.
No, it shouldn't be to that extent. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks.
yeah, and again, I would agree with Candace that if, again, there is that space at the bottom, that if there are anything that you want to add, so Jill, you would just put for question 2, we had 2 deceased, and we'll look into that and take that into account. All right. Jonna, did you have another question or are you still?
No, I forgot to unraise it.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
That's all right. Any other questions?
Maybe a silly one, but I emailed back and forth with Jenna and we talked about how we needed it for the DV bonus funding. So just to clarify, so that's the past year of our rapid rehousing dollars for the DV grant, correct? Starting in December 2020? Well,
yes.
Okay. And then do we need to do it for Housing First? Oh, I believe that's also COC funded.
Housing First, the program?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
No, that's an IHCDA program. It's so there's Housing First, the concept and the philosophy, and then there's Housing First, the program.
yes, the program.
And this is not Housing First.
Okay.
The program.
So for us, the only one that we have to do this as a separate recipient for is the DV program.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions? So just to let you know what happens after you submit the button. So the application automatically goes into our community services inbox. And so we will be looking at those and making sure that nothing happens. But the other great thing that happens when you submit this is that everything is loaded into an Excel spreadsheet, which will make it easier for us when we are working with the scoring and everything like that. And so if there are any questions that we would have, either somebody from the COC team will reach out to you, either Candace, Jenna, Rachel, or myself will reach out to you about any clarifying questions that we have for you. And then the deadline is June 17th. And we don't know when the NOFA will actually drop. I'm looking at Howard. If you have any insight.
Not really. I mean, just all that HUD has told us is that we should probably expect it in a little over a month. But who knows?
Yeah. So we will keep everyone posted. What we always use as a caveat is because we do the competition before we receive the NOFA. If there is anything else that comes out on the NOFA that we might have to, shoot everyone an extra question that we have to gather information, we will do that. And then, yeah, we will continue to have be available for any questions. So you can submit your questions to communityservices@ihcda.in.gov. I'll put it in the chat box. And then if you run into any problems, then please let us know as soon as possible so that we can resolve them. The great thing about this form being online is if there's any tweaking that needs to be done, like I showed you, we had originally put 2020 when we met 2021. I was able to go in and correct that. But I'm assuming that since I've had about 6 submissions, that that people are using it, and it hopefully will make your life easier and not so arduous in submitting that. So hopefully it's an easy process. But we are always looking for improvements on this process for the next year. And actually, we have had a conversation with a subrecipient earlier this week that we actually may afterwards, after all of this is over, so probably in the October, November time, is maybe pull everyone together and do an evaluation of the questions and how can we streamline this. I know things have been coming out so far that we could look at definitely streamlining it and making it more efficient and effective for next year. So we always want to hear from you all about how we can improve the process for you on your end. If there are no other questions, then I will let everyone back to their day, and thank you very much for participating. And again, if there are any questions that come up as you're putting this together, please let us know. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.